everybody. A warm welcome to Amazing You podcast and YouTube channels, the channels where stories of resilience, triumph, and unwavering hope come to life. And in each episode, we dive into the inspiring journey of individuals who have faced the toughest challenges heads-on and emerged victorious. Our aim is to be a beacon of inspiration, offering a guiding light to those navigating through difficult times. Whether you are dealing with health challenges, professional setbacks, or personal struggles, this channel is dedicated to uplifting your spirit and showing you that even in the darkest moments, there's a path to hope and triumph. So join us as we share powerful stories that transcend adversity, reminding you that resilience is a force within us all. So be prepared to be inspired and find the strength to navigate life challenges. So this is Amazing You channel where hope takes center stage. I am your host, Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist, Mars Venus life and relationship coach, astrologer, tarot reader, compassion practitioner, past life regression practitioner, and chakra practitioner. And today, I have the great pleasure to introduce you to my very special guest. His name is Brad Walsh. So Brad is a devoted father of two remarkable daughters, and Brad understands the significance of nurturing and fostering growth, cultivating compassion that permeates every aspect of his life. Brad is also the #1 best-selling author, international speaker, and podcast host of Empowerography. So very warm welcome, Brad, to Amazing You.
Thank you so very much for this incredible opportunity, Rani. I appreciate you. I am so grateful to be able to be here to share a little bit about my story and my journey and hope and resilience and all of the beautiful things that you talk about on your podcast. It is an absolute honor. So thank you for having me here today. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. I have to thank you too for taking your precious time. I know it's very sunny and beautiful where you are today.
Yes.
So we'll do as fast as we can so that you can go and enjoy the weather. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
It is an honor and a pleasure. So thank you.
And let's kick off with my first question for you is if you can share with us, give us a brief overview of your journey, Brad, and how it led you to where you are today as a dedicated advocate for women empowerment.
Sure. So my journey started as a photographer, actually. I've been working in the women's empowerment space for 7 years now. It'll be 7 years this July, actually. Wow. I left my corporate job 7 years ago. I worked for an accounting firm as an audiovisual technician. And photography has been a huge part of my life. I learned how to shoot on black and white film back in high school when I was 17 years old. And from then, it was my first love. I fell in love with photography from that very moment. That first class that I took, I fell in love with photography. So photography has been a huge part of my life. And I eventually moved into women's empowerment photography, boudoir photography. And that's where my love for advocating and supporting women came from, is through that photography piece of it. As you mentioned off the top, I have two daughters. They are 23 and 25, and they're a big part of my why for the photography and for the podcast. And a big part of that reason being is both of my girls were bullied in elementary school. My youngest was bullied by both boys and girls, verbally and physically. My oldest was bullied by girls verbally. And of course, as a parent, to see your children go through that is a tough thing. And, you know, the 2 years that we went through that, the two most difficult years that we went through that, it was hard because I think the worst part of it was seeing the effects that it had on the girls carry through with them to the different stages of their lives, from elementary school to high school to now. I still see the effects prevalent, and it breaks my heart, of course, because they're my girls. But when I take a step back and I look at that situation through a wider lens, the fact that there are hundreds of millions of young girls and women who go through and deal with that type of thing on a daily basis, and it affects how they view themselves. That they don't love themselves, they don't feel confident in who they are, they don't love their bodies. And so with the photography piece of it in particular, My goal is to have my clients leave the studio feeling better than when they got there. That's a big part of what I do is I have the opportunity, I get the opportunity to show women themselves in a light that they don't normally get to see themselves in, and to be able to give that gift of transformation, and just for me to witness transformation unfold before my very eyes is one of the most incredible and beautiful things that I ever get to witness. And, you know, in 2019, I was 2 years into my photography business full time, and it started to feel like there wasn't enough of an impact. I wasn't reaching enough people. I wanted to reach more people, and I wanted to have a bigger impact. So I thought, why don't I take what I'm doing with the photography, the values, the mission, the purpose, and turn that into, or transplant that into a podcast where I focus the podcast solely on women. Um, and of course, I reached out to 7 or 8 friends of mine, women who are photographers, makeup artists who I'd met along my journey in photography. And I explained what my idea was behind the platform and what I wanted to do with it. And I asked them if they would help me get it off the ground by letting me interview them. Thankfully, they all said yes. I did the interviews, I created the content. But at that same time, I was in my second year full time of business. And I figured, I left corporate for a reason. I left my 12.5 year corporate job for a reason. I have to shift all of my energy, my focus back to the business and shelve the podcast. So I shelved the podcast. I focused on the business. We then, of course, fast forward to March of 2020. Of course, we all know what happened around the world. That rendered my business inoperable. And I thought, instead of sitting around and complaining like everyone else or a lot of the world is doing right now because of the current situation, I thought, I'm going to take advantage of this gift of time that we've all been given to create something and put something good out into the world. So I had my light bulb moment where I thought, why don't I just reignite the podcast? I've got nothing else I could be doing with my time right now. I might as well do something good. So I started reaching out to women on Instagram and social media platforms and explaining what my platform was all about, what I wanted to do with it, where I wanted to take it. And the response was just incredible, Rani. Women were so happy to hear that a man had created a platform such as this to help elevate women and amplify their voices through sharing their stories. And it turned into this beautiful community that we now have. And I can tell you with every fiber of my being and every bit of my heart and soul, this is my purpose and my mission on this planet, is to help elevate women and amplify their voices through sharing their story. I have met some of the most incredible women that I've ever met in my entire life. It's been 4 years. We celebrated the 4-year anniversary of the podcast last month, and it has been just an incredible journey. And the relationships, hands down, are the best part of it, because I have met so many incredible, amazing people. Friendships have been created, relationships, business opportunities have come out of this. It has been absolutely incredible. And my mom and my grandmother are the biggest piece of this. They are the foundation for all of it. I wouldn't be the man I am today without those 2 women. My mom left my biological father when I was 10 years old. He was running around on her having an affair. And back in those days, of course, women were the ones who stayed home to raise the kids while the husband was the one working to make the money. So when I look back on that as an adult male, the fact that she had the strength and the courage and the resilience to stand up after 15 years of marriage and say, no more, I don't have to put up with this anymore. I'm taking my boys and we're leaving. And that's what we did. We left with nothing but the clothes on our back. We moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. My mom slept on a couch. My brother and I shared the bedroom. And she had to get a job after being out of work for 10 years because she stayed home to raise us. And when she was at work, my grandmother would step in and help raise us. So for me, those 2 women, they're my heart and my soul. I wouldn't be who I am today. So along with my mother, my grandmother, my wife, and my daughters, these 5 women, they are why I do what I do. It's my way of saying thank you and giving back to women because of what these 5 women have done for me and brought to my life.
Wow, what an incredible story, Brad.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the great things you are doing and helping all these women. And I am really looking forward to be on your podcast. So
Yes, I'm excited.
That is super exciting, yes. And you touch on a lot of very important points along those lines. And you talk about bullying,
Yeah.
Bullying is a huge issue among students.
Yeah.
But also among adults, among siblings, absolutely. I heard, among siblings. And I have experienced bullying too, at work.
So have I, yeah.
Yeah, and when I started doing the inner work, so bullying was a pattern that was being repeated in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when you come sometimes from family that have been doing their best, but they did what they know. They helped
Yes, they
to
did the
grow
best
us
with what they had, right?
with what they have. And we didn't have that confidence, you know,
Right.
and that created those situations of bullying in my life. That's what I found about myself. I had
Mm-hmm.
confidence, but I didn't have self-esteem about myself.
Right.
I didn't value myself. And in going to that personal development, I have worked on that and build my confidence. And this has helped me to do so many great things. Having my podcast, and I'm sure you know about how when we build our self-esteem and confidence, and because you work with those women in photography, and
Yeah.
you know, I have been doing a bit of photography of being a model, and one day
Excellent.
I wanted to give myself that experience. And
Yes.
the role of a photographer is
Mm-hmm.
extremely important in that process, because the photographer will make you feel comfortable, will give you the
Absolutely.
confidence. So when you were
Yes.
talking about photography and how you were empowering these women when
Mm-hmm.
you were taking their photos,
Yeah.
it is like such an important role you are playing, because you are building their confidence at the same time. You are telling them, yeah, you look good, keep doing that. And
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. It
So
is. It's an incredible thing to be able to, it's an incredible gift to be able to give to somebody, to
at
give them that confidence and that strength and that self-belief is just, I mean, it fills my heart. I feel so blessed and so lucky that I get to do that for other individuals and give back in that way is such a beautiful feeling.
it is a beautiful thing to do, to be, because you had that opportunity, even if people didn't see it. But to those women, you were extremely important to
Mm-hmm.
give them that self value about themselves, that
Yes.
self image, because they dress well, and you
Yeah,
tell them how
absolutely.
good they are, how great
Yeah.
they are in their clothes. And
Yes.
and I think it's great that now that you brought that to the podcast and you are
Mm-hmm.
reaching out to women around the world. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's really amazing. Yeah. So can you tell us about a bit more, because your children experience bullying, and I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
today so many people who are watching and listening to this podcast have experienced bullying at some point, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe someone in their family or
Yeah.
their children have experienced it. What would you like to tell those people to help them today, Brad?
A support system is incredibly important. Someone you can talk to, someone you can vent to. And, you know, it takes work. As you said, as I know, having been bullied as well, you've been bullied. It takes a lot of self work for sure. You have to put in the work. And I think it's important to stress that that work doesn't stop. You have to continue doing that work because we are continually evolving as human beings. We are continually growing. So, you know, put in the work and also know that it's okay to be vulnerable, to share, to be open and to talk about these things. You may think that you are the only one going through it, but believe me, you're not. Other people have gone through it. And so knowing that, I think, also helps give people courage to stand up and share their stories, because it takes a lot to stand up. When you've been bullied, when you've been picked on like that, it takes a lot of inner strength and inner courage to talk about it, to tell other people what you're going through. But believe me, when you do that, it will help you because they will understand. You need to surround yourself with a support system. That is absolutely key. You must have a support system in place, whether that be a best friend, a sibling, whatever it is, a parent, your mother, if you're a child, if you're young, a mother, your father. Talk to somebody. You have to talk about it and get it out and let them know and let them be there to support you and lean into that support system. It is so important because they will also help you build back your confidence. Along with doing the self work, you have to be willing to put in the work too, though. It's
Thank,
key.
thank you, Brad. I really appreciate that you said that we have to put in the work, because so many people, they think, I'll just do the inner work now because I am in a tough situation, and then I'll stop,
Yeah, yeah.
And I think
no, it continues. You have to continue with it.
Yeah.
You have to.
And a great point you made is that we are continuously growing and evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. We're human beings. We are emotive beings. We're always changing.
Yes.
So we have to continue doing that work, because just because you've overcome one thing doesn't mean that other things aren't going to pop up too. So you have to be willing to put in that work, for sure.
Oh, yes. I can tell you that I have been doing the work on a daily basis, and how this has empowered me in changing things in my life, in changing how I see things, because when we change the way we look at things, like Dr. Wayne Dyer said,
the things we look at change.
Yes,
yes,
thank you.
I love that quote. I absolutely love it.
Thank you for helping me to finish that. I am glad that you like that quote too.
I do. I love it.
Yeah, so I think it's very, very important for people to know that working on ourselves is a continuous journey on this life.
For sure.
Yes. And absolutely. What one practice that, or maybe a few practices that you start your day with? What one routine, or how do you start your day with yourself, Brad?
I have what I call an MMJ practice. So it's movement, meditation, and journaling, all three. So I will get up in the morning, I'll go for a walk. Before I do anything, I'll get up and just zip on a tracksuit or my track pants or whatever, as a hoodie, and just go for a walk, get moving, get out in the fresh air. I come back from that, I jump in the shower, then I come downstairs to my office and I will meditate. Anywhere from, it could be, you don't have to meditate for an hour. You don't have to sit there for an hour and a half. I just do a quick, between 5 and 15-minute meditation to get centered, to get grounded, to get my mind right. And then I will journal. I have the 5-minute journal. So it's got all the prompts there. You don't even have to free write. You just follow the prompts. It asks you for gratitude, three things that have happened, that you're grateful for that day, 3 things that you want to do that day that will make you feel good. It's got a whole page of prompts. And I've finished my journaling, and then I jump into my day. That for me is everything that sets my day straight. If I find that, and I have fallen off it, I'm just recently getting back into it. I've found that when I fall off that practice, everything's out of whack. I don't feel myself. So when I do get back into it, it helps to center me. It helps to ground me. It helps to keep me focused on what I need to do for the day. So that's really the only practice I have in place. But I try to make sure I do that every day, because I think it's important. So if you can put some kind of practice in place, you don't have to do the movement meditation journaling. You can just do meditation, or you can just do the walking. If meditation is not your thing, do at least one thing. Create a routine for yourself so that you do that every single day. It just becomes second nature, becomes habit, and that will help you for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing what you do every morning, because I think that's very, very important. And I didn't know anything about that myself a long time ago. And I heard Michelle Obama, she said that every morning she would get up at 4 and she would start her meditation, her yoga, because she had a very important job at that time.
Yeah.
As a wife of a president, so she had so many duties. And that started to ring a bell until I joined that personal growth journey. And now I cannot live without doing my self-care practice every morning.
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
It's like as if just like I eat, this is my food for my soul. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and I'm not perfect. Like I said, I've fallen off my practice time and again. It's happened, and it's going to happen. But I think the key is to remember and to make sure you do get back to it at some point, because you will notice a difference when you start doing something and you do it for an extended period of time. It just becomes part of who you are. And then when something happens where you're not doing that anymore, you notice the difference. You feel it. For me, with the movement and meditation and journaling, I feel it when I'm not when I'm not out there moving every day and out and meditating, and I feel it. I know I recognize the difference in myself. So it's important to, again, we're human. We're going to
Yes.
falter. We're going to fall off these things, but the point is to remember to get back to them.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important that people should keep working on themselves. We are work in
Yes.
progress, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah. And I think women, many women, I'm sure you would have met a lot of women that they would get into this routine
Yeah.
of having a daily practice and self-care. But I think it's great that you talk about that as a man, because not many men have
No.
daily routine and practice of
Very
self-care.
true. Or they don't talk about it.
They don't. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. It is important. It's okay to talk about these things. Like I said, I was raised by two women, so I was taught that it's okay to talk about things. It's okay to share your feelings and be vulnerable. And my upbringing was quite different from a lot of boys when they were being brought up. So I have that advantage, I would say, being brought up and raised by two women.
Wow, that is great. Yes, I think you had a beautiful journey so far, and like everybody, we face challenges.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask you, what has been the greatest challenge in your life, and what did you learn from that, Brad?
I would say one of the biggest challenges most recently, I guess, in the last 7 or 8 years was when I made the jump to entrepreneurship full time
Okay.
and learning that it's not about you. It's got nothing to do with you. I was of this competition mindset, and I believe that there's so much competition out there. How am I ever going to make it in this photography business? There were multiple times where I wanted to give up and stop my entrepreneurial journey. And I was also going in to collaborate with companies. I was going into meeting early on in my business, looking to collaborate with other companies. And I was going in with the mindset of what's in this for me? What am I getting out of this? And that's the wrong way. This is where it goes back to it's not about you. It's bigger than you. You cannot go into business, entrepreneurship, or any relationship for that matter, in my opinion, with the mindset or attitude of what am I going to get out of this? What's in it for me? You have to go into things, in my opinion, in the way of being in and of service to others. We are here to be in and of service to one another. We are here to support each other. We are here to cheerlead each other. And so that combined with the mindset, the competition mindset that I was dealing with, I got a mentor early on in my photography career business, and he put me on the right path. He corrected me in terms of shifting my mindset out of that what's in it for me mentality into an in service and of service mindset. And then the competition thing for me, it took me a couple of years to get over that hurdle. It was a lot. It took a lot of work, but I finally got to the point where I looked at things and thought, you know what? The only competition I have is me. As long as I am improving and I am growing and I am getting better in my skill set, better at my craft, that's all that matters. No one else out there, no other photographer out there sees things the way I do. They don't look at something and see it the way I do. They don't create images the way I do. They also do not provide the customer service that I do because no one else is me. So that was probably my biggest lesson. Two of my biggest lessons is that mindset and that no one else is me, and being in and of service to one another. That is huge. And I've carried that through since that mentor with my photography business 2 years in to where I am now with the podcast and the things I'm building around the platform, is that we're all here to be in and of service. That is a huge, huge lesson. And it took a while to overcome that and to realize that this is where we need to be at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you made some very, very important points here about ourselves being our greatest competitor, you know? And everybody, we have done that before. If we haven't been on the personal growth journey, we compare ourselves to others.
Absolutely. But comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And you know, when we tend to compare ourselves, we start to feel upset. We start to feel hatred, jealousy. And we forget to focus on ourselves. We forget to
Yeah.
achieve our own goals. We are so distracted
Right.
by everybody else.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You have to learn that self-care and looking after yourself first, putting yourself first is not selfish, because when you do put yourself first, when you do, as they say, fill your cup first,
Yes.
that allows you the space and the bandwidth and the energy to give to others. You can be that much better in and of service to one another. Someone explained it to me. If your cup is not overflowing and the saucer is not catching the saucer that's catching the overflow, that's what you give to other people. The
Yeah.
stuff in the cup is for you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. You can't give from an empty cup, you know. What will you give?
No.
There's nothing to give.
That's right. That's right. And as they say, I know again, it's cliche, but when you get on an airplane, what do they tell you? If something happens, put on your own air mask first before you help anyone else. It's true. You have to be able to give but we've been conditioned to believe that looking out for ourselves and putting ourselves first is selfish. It's not. It's actually selfless, because it just gives you that much more energy to be able to give and be in and of service to others.
Yeah, that's so great. And you know, the more we focus on ourselves and on our journey,
Mm-hmm.
the more things there are more opportunities we will find,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is, every time when I think of comparison, because I have seen that happening in my life, in people around
Yeah.
me, and I tend to think straight away. I saw that beautiful quote once. It said, the sun and the moon, they rise and shine at their own time. You know,
I
they
love
never
that.
compare themselves with each other.
No, they don't. They don't.
And why we human, we do that.
Yeah. We all have our individual gifts and we all have our own
Yes.
individual strengths.
Yeah.
So shine, shine your light. The world needs your light. The world needs your gift. You are here on this planet at this time for a reason. So shine and share it.
Thank you, Brad. That's beautifully said.
Thank you.
I really enjoy our conversation, Brad.
Me too.
It's wonderful talking to you. And
You as well.
thank you. And my other question to you, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
What inspirational quotes that have helped you whenever, in order to inspire you and to give you strength whenever you face challenging times, Brad?
One that comes to mind, my father. What is meant for you will never go by you. And I still am learning this lesson, because when something happens that I don't get, like, I'll use a recent example. I applied for a TED Talk a couple of months ago and I didn't get it. And it was my first time ever applying. I didn't get it. And I was really down about it. It really bothered me. And then I stayed in that. I won't lie. It's not like I snapped out of it right away, but I remembered my dad saying, what is meant for you will never go by you. And it's true. That stage was not meant for me. And that's okay. That just means that a bigger stage is meant for you, that another stage is meant for you. It's open. One door closes, another one opens. There's something else out there that is better for me. There's a reason I did not get that one, and that's okay. But it's getting into that headspace and realizing of that. So that every time something happens that doesn't work out the way I expected or wanted it to, that quote comes to mind. I can hear my dad saying it, that what's meant for you will never go by you. And I live by that.
And I think that's beautiful what you remembered from your dad, because I think it's also helped you to come back to the now, to the present,
Yeah.
and stay positive, even in the tough times, and then start looking for other opportunities.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't let that missed opportunity get you down. There's something else better around the corner. There's something else coming. I think that the only failure is a good thing. I think failure is how we learn. If we don't get what we want, that's okay, because there is something else coming. But I think it's important to remember too, that because you don't get that opportunity, don't give up. Do not give up.
Yeah.
That to me is failure. Giving up is failure.
Yes.
Keep going after what you want. Look at it, come at it from a different angle. Or like I said, that's not, that opportunity wasn't meant for you. That's okay. There'll be another one. Don't worry about it. There's a reason that you did not get it. Whatever that is, whatever it is, there was a reason you did not get it. And that's okay. Know that that's okay. But don't give up. Keep going. Keep pushing through. Keep trying.
Thank you, Brad. I like that you said giving up is failure. And it is, I think that's a beautiful quote that we need to put.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And books have had a profound impact on every one of us.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we read a lot, we read a little, we read a few, we read sometimes. So could you share with us a few titles that have significantly influenced you and explain why they hold such significance for you, Brad?
One that comes to mind, I read probably about 6 or 7 months ago, is a book called A Dose of Positivity by Mike Diamond. And it was just incredible. It opened my eyes to being positive, to staying positive. Because it's not easy as an entrepreneur, and even in life, it's not easy to always stay positive. We cannot be 100% sunshine all the time.
Yeah.
So that book just reminded me, and it gives you practices on how to stay positive. So that book really resonated for me huge. I would recommend that book to anybody. As an entrepreneur, as a human being, as a person, that book is absolutely incredible. I'm trying to think of another one. Another one that I'm reading right now is, and I've just started this one, so it is called, oh, bear with me, I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Sure.
It is called I Am the Word.
Mm-hmm.
A guide to the consciousness of man's self in a transitioning time. It was recommended to me by a friend, and she said it changed her life. So that's the other book. It is by Paul Selig, Selig, and the other book, A Dose of Positivity, is written by Mike Diamond. 2 great books. Well, the one I've just started, it seems good, but my friend said it's an amazing book. It changed her life. But I could tell you, A Dose of Positivity, highly recommend that book. It is absolutely incredible.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those 2 books that have been impactful and help you a lot. Thank you. And I would strongly encourage the audience that it's so important to read, because the more you read, the more you'll understand things.
Yes.
And that will help you to put things also into practice. It's not only about reading, we might have a huge amount of knowledge, but from reading those books, you will be inspired to start to take actions on your life. So
absolutely. Reading is so important. I used to love reading as a kid.
Okay.
I read all the time. And again, I fell off reading for a while, but I've gotten back into reading, and I absolutely love it. There's so many incredible books out there, and it will enhance your knowledge on life, self-development. There's so many self-development books and all of these different things. Definitely reading is an incredible thing. And if you don't really like reading, get the audiobook. That's okay. Listen to the book.
Thank you for sharing that, because I know a lot of young people, they don't like to buy hard copies and read.
Yes.
So audiobook is a great one. I love listening to audiobooks. That's absolutely. so good. We are so lucky at this time that there are so many ways to learn and grow within ourselves. In my time, we could only buy books, and we had to order them, and it would take months for them to come.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid in school, we get those order forms, order the books you want. You send it in, you send the money, and you got to wait for the books to come to school. And I remember those days.
Yeah, I think we are so lucky with so much technology and so many opportunities around. It's just having our eyes and our ears and our heart open to receiving.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's it. We have to be open to receive.
Yes.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Rani.
You are welcome, Brad. And my other question to you, we are coming to an end. This is the last question I would ask you, Brad. So since you've embarked on various endeavors yourself, from authoring books to hosting your own podcast, could you please provide us a brief overview of these projects, and how can people engage with them and reach out to you for further information or support?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast. My website is www.empowerographypodcast.com. Find me there. You can find me on Facebook. Just send me a friend request, Brad Walsh. And I have a community called the Empowerography Podcast Lounge on Facebook. So if you're interested in being part of the community, we have over 1,500 women in the community. If you want to be part of the community, just look up Empowerography Podcast Lounge on Facebook, and we'd be happy to have you in as a member.
Wow, thank you so much. Brad, it's been such a wonderful time talking to you. I really enjoyed our conversation, and it's been really enlightening hearing your wisdom as well and your journey. I would like to wish you a lot of success.
Thank you.
In every new endeavors, in everything that you will undertake, and keep shining your light. We need you, you know. Yes, we all need you. And you are here for that big purpose.
Yes.
And yeah, I am very, very grateful for your time today. I would say big thank you to you, Brad. And I would like to say big thank you to the audience for watching, for sharing, and for subscribing.
Thank you so much, Rani, for this incredible opportunity to be here on your platform and to engage in conversation with you and with your listeners and audience. I really appreciate the opportunity. You're a beautiful soul, so thank you.
Thank you to you, Brad, and you are amazing. That's why I call the podcast Amazing You.
Thank you.
And thank you to the audience. You are all amazing, and we'll see you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.